Several weeks ago, the Trump administration was supposed to release an economic forecast report. And this forecast was primarily about agricultural forecasts for the, foreseeable future here in the United States. But it also dealt with other commodities. It dealt with the trade deficit, all things that Donald Trump has talked about fixing. And we were supposed to get a report that was going to show us how great Trump is doing. And for some reason, the Trump administration just decided to not release the report. And according to Politico, parts of it have even been redacted. So this economic forecast that the administration, regardless of who's in charge, releases multiple times throughout every year and has for decades, we're just not going to get it. And if we do get it, it's going to be so heavily redacted because all of the information is absolutely horrific to Donald Trump and damaging to his policy and, of course, his ego. Here is what Politico reported. Trump administration officials delayed and redacted a government forecast because it predicts an increase in the nation's trade deficit in farm goods later this year, according to two people familiar with the matter. The numbers run counter to President Donald Trump's messaging that his economic policies, including tariffs, will reduce U.S. trade imbalances. The politically inconvenient data prompted administration officials to block publication of the written analysis normally attached to the report because they disliked what it said about the deficit. In other words, this report showed that Donald Trump's policies have actually made things worse instead of making them better. It didn't even keep them the same, it made them worse, because that's what happens to everything Donald Trump touches. It turns to garbage. So they get this report from very smart people who do this for a living, and they're like, oh God. Well, here's how we handle this, guys. What economic report? I don't know what you're talking about. I haven't seen any economic forecasts. No, nothing here. The public can't know about it. Now, here's where this becomes a massive problem. Obviously, these economic forecasts impact the stock market, and more importantly, they impact companies' decisions, business decisions. Whether you work in commodities and manufacturing, whether you're in farming, it doesn't matter. When an economic forecast from the federal government comes out specific to your sector, that impacts whether or not companies are going to make investments to expand, or if they're going to contract, if they're going to do layoffs, or if they're going to have to start hiring more people. These reports are something that businesses from all industries rely upon to make decisions about their future. And now the Trump administration says you don't get that report because it makes me look bad. So now businesses are out there flying blind. They don't know. I mean, we know because we know how bad it is, but they're now going to make decisions assuming the worst. So the decisions they may make may actually be even more extreme than what the economic forecast calls for. The economic forecast may say, hey, your growth is going to decline by 2%, so maybe lay off 2% of your workers. Well, if they don't have that information, they say, okay, it's going to be bad. We'll lay off 5%. We'll lay off 10%. We'll stop production of these goods if we need to. And that, of course, is going to have an even worse economic impact because they can't rely on the actual numbers because they're not going to get them. And to be perfectly clear, this is something the administration told us earlier this year they would start doing. They were going to change the way, they said, and I talked about it at the time, that the government does math, basically. When we calculate GDP, when we calculate, employment, we're going to stop counting these specific numbers. Because when you add it all together, it actually makes us look bad. So we're going to get rid of the bad numbers and only add up the good ones. Again, I sat right here and did that segment when they came out and said that during an interview. And now this is what we get. They weren't able to cook the books on this one, so they just destroyed the books. They redacted parts of it too. Because this administration would rather tank businesses and withhold the information they need to make future investments than allow Donald Trump to look like a failure. Thanks for watching today, everybody. And don't forget, if you're not already, please do subscribe to this channel. We have fresh content going up every single day, and I would really hate for you to miss out on that. And speaking of missing out, if you're not following me across all other social media outlets, then get on it. You can follow the links in the description of this video.